Hello everybody, I am Brett's Bricks, and this is LEGO Transformers Autobot Battalion. As you can see, Battalion is a tank. No explanation needed, he's a tank. To be specific, a Renault FT tank from early World War I. One of the most pivotal tanks in human history, actually, because it was the first tank to ever have a fully 360 rotating turret. Since that's such a big part of history, I thought I'd obviously have to incorporate that, so just like most tanks nowadays, the turret fully rotates. You'll see it does have a very small turret, but the Renault FT was a very light tank. It did not have big guns. It was more just for, infiltrating the front lines. You'll see in the back, he does have this weird anomaly, as you might call it. It's actually something called a trench tail. A trench tail in World War I was exactly as it implied. A tail for helping with digging and pulling trenches in World War I, since World War I was known for its trench warfare. So, at first glance, this might all seem like kibble, but this was actually intentional. Anyways, you'll see in the front, he does have a little hole. That hole is so a minifigure can sit in there. Sadly, it's not the most seamless minifigure piloting I've done in the past, because this guy was very hard to incorporate, as you'll see in the future. But, just like all my other ones, a minifigure can drive. It's a weird way to put him in, though. You actually have to flip it upside down and stick him in like this, and then peg him in to get him to drive. Oops. There we go. And then he can drive like that. Another problem is, normally a tank would have a hatch right here so that his head wouldn't be exposed and easy to shoot, but what can I do? You'll see why I had so much trouble with this front area once I start transforming. Anyways, taking this minifigure out, I'd say this guy is pretty cool. I am really proud of him. But let's get on to some comparisons. Battalion looks pretty cool next to some of his partners, if not all of his partners. You'll see he's a good amount smaller than Barrel Roll the airplane. That's just kind of the nature of the beast, considering Barrel Roll is an airplane. But he is a little bigger than the Corvette, which makes sense, because the Corvette is a really small car. You can see from the side, it's a bit of a length difference. He is longer than him, and he's longer than him. Simple as that. So for some other comparisons, moving these two out of the way, here he is next to Henry. You'll see Battalion, once again, is a lot longer than Henry, but that's, once again, like I said, as it should be. And finally, here he is next to the smallest member, little wheel spin. Yeah, big size difference. But you didn't come here to see size comparisons, so let's get down to transformation. To transform Battalion, it is not the easiest of my Transformers ever. Getting this guy out of the way, first thing you gotta do is you actually have to take this turret off. Now, you might be worried that this is a take-apart former. Don't worry, there is a purpose for this coming off. First thing you do is take it off, and you see this chain. Disconnect this from the side. This is also a part of the turret. And once this is disconnected, this will have its own use later. Moving that aside, this is all the actual robot. Just a turretless tank. To transform him, first thing I always do is take this front section and unpeg it like this on both sides. There, like that. Now that these are disconnected, you can go to the back and split this part right there. You'll see he's starting to come apart already. From there, take these and rotate them up and fold these down. These are now going to become the arms later. Moving these down, there we go. Now from here, take these and move this chain out of the way. Take this and fold it all the way onto the back. You'll see what these are for later. Move them out of the way, move them out of the way. Now we can get onto this front section. To rotate this forward, and then on the back, just take this piece and disconnect it. This just helps keep them together. It's not a big deal of a piece. And then I rotate it up so it's out of the way. There we go. Now from there, we can get into the real transformation stuff. Move these out of the way. First thing you gotta do is, once again, move this chain. It's for aesthetics. It does get in the way sometimes, but I think it gives a cool look later. Take this and lift this whole assembly up. This whole assembly will come and is very important for later. Once that assembly is up, you can take these and rotate these up, and then take this and simply unpeg them. They are pegged in pretty tightly. Sometimes this piece likes to stick. You just go ahead and move it up back where it was and go like this. These will actually become the legs later. And then from there, you can take this whole section, whole top of the tank, and fold it down like that. And just like that, he went from being a pretty blocky creation to having these big long legs. I'm going to zoom out the camera now so you can get full scope of how big this guy is. Oh man, I wish I could lift the camera. Anyway, then from there, you can take these and you fold them up so they're more connected to his body. That also shortens him and gives him less lengthy legs. From here, you can take these and fold them back. You'll see what they are for later. And push this guy back. From here, you gotta take this and rotate around. See this? This is his eye. You will see that in a minute. You gotta take this chain. Oop, there we go. And then wrap it around. Oops, you can't see that. Wrap this around there. Boom, just like that. Take the head, push it down, and peg it in. There we go. These side panels lift up. They were the sides of the tank and filled in some holes. But, oops, in robot mode, they fold up to kind of give this really cool look on his chest. Fold up again. He kind of fell down a bit. There we go. I can't really back this up too much more. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see all this. This is a really hard video for me to shoot at the moment. There we go. From there, there's these hinge joints, and they fold down like that. Take these arms, fold them down, and you'll see he's pretty much getting done. But he's not quite, oops, the arm fell off. He's not quite done. In the back, these treads, that kind of just dangle there. So what you do is rotate this piece that connected it before down, then peg it in, creating these wings, actually. They look pretty cool, actually. Then you can do the same thing on the other side, fold that down, rotate this up, and peg this in. Just like that. There you go. Once that's all completed, you can adjust them however you like. I like to adjust them like this. And here is Battalion in his robot mode. It is not surprising to say Battalion has a very evil Cyclops appearance to him. In fact, he doesn't look like he'd be an Autobot at all. With his naturally hunched back and his eye in the middle of his chest rather than an actual eye, or head, I mean, it's not very good guy-esque, and that's something I really like about him. He has a very different look. If you read the origin story I'm putting in the description, you will learn all about why he looks the way he does, and why he just doesn't have that Autobot appearance you'd expect. I also love this chain around his neck. As much as a pain as it is to transform him with it on, it does give a really cool, just extra aesthetic, an extra look to him that none of my other Transformers ever have. This V section right here I also love. I like how it's just this big gap area, but this V just gives this new look that I'm not sure many people have ever done. For articulation, his arms are on these toe ball joints, so they move all over the place, little ball joints. He has this like gorilla arm bicep. It doesn't move forward, sadly, but he can move his whole arm forward. And I like that a little bit because I kind of like the poses it gets him in. these really like animalistic and gruff poses. He doesn't stand very well. That's not because of balancing issues. Surprisingly, despite him having these huge wings, he balances really, really well. It's actually because these hinges that his legs are connected to are just super loose. I don't have any other better pieces, so I have to deal with these loose ones for now, unless I get some from Bricklink anytime soon. Now, you might remember this whole thing that came off. Well, I thought to myself, how am I going to get this turret to transform and stay on his body? And I thought to myself, well, why don't I just do what like Megatron does? It takes off the gun and then put it back in his hand. I thought, nah, a gun turning into a gun was unoriginal. And this guy doesn't look like something I would use a gun. So I made it into a mace. Hence why there's a chain. To put it on, it's simply just peg it into his hand. And boom. Battalion now has his very dangerous mace weapon that I can imagine him swinging all over the place and beating enemies with all the time. Plus it has a little turret on it. I guess you could imagine it shoots while swinging, but that just seems ridiculous to me. I like the idea of it just being a heavyweight weapon he beats and bludgeons his enemies with. For more articulation, I kind of got sidetracked. His legs are also on toe joints. They move all over the place. They can move in and out. There is this joint right here, but I like to keep it against his body because that's how it's meant to be. He has a knee, and he has a little bit of a foot movement. His wings are actually fully posable. They can go all the way up, and they can go all the way down, and they can flap, which kind of give him this gargoyle, like, evil appearance to him. Now, let's do some comparisons. Here is Battalion next to all of his Autobot companions. You'll see he stacks up pretty well with them. I like how they all have such a different look to them. They all have this uniqueness that no other Transformers I've ever built have had. My Transformers in the past have always kind of followed the same design, but these couple all look really different. But there's more to Battalion than meets the eye. You see, Battalion is more than just a robot and a tank. He is actually a Triplechanger. So a little backstory on his Triplechanger form. When I was working on building this Transformer, I accidentally folded the treads so they looked like these wings. And I thought to myself, man, these look like dragon wings. So, big surprise, I made him have a third form, a dragon form. To get Battalion into his dragon form, first thing we're going to do is remove his weapon and start moving this chain out of the way. You're going to fold it onto his back like that. From there, you can take this front section and remove it just like this. This will fold all the way up. And what's this? Could it be a dragon head? From there, we will take these legs, these arms, which will now become legs, and they will fold up like that. And fold up again so that they could be more like this. Folding them on there. I'm going to move this to the back. From there, you'll see his legs straighten out. You'll see this is another reason why I keep these long joints, is because they help create the tail. From there, take these whole legs assemblies and rotate them around, like that. From there, we can take this section and put it together, like that. These legs then fold together, and you point the toes. Now, the dragon has a tail. Take this and fold it down like this. And then these front sections I told you about earlier that get annoying. Oops, they like to pop off a lot. There we go. It's really hard for me to show this, but take them and slide them like that. Once you slide them, the legs will be separate and they will be able to be more posable. Back them up again. You can take these legs and pose them as you like and put them on the ground like that. From there, you can take these legs and fold them down, pose this dragon head with the horns, and look at that. Now we have Battalion in his dragon mode. Now, Battalion, in my opinion, looks awesome as a dragon. I'm really proud of the fact that all three of his modes hold their own, in my opinion. In my opinion, they all three look like they could be their own standalone creation. The tank looks like a tank, the robot looks like a robot, and the dragon looks like a dragon. Another reason why I like this aesthetic is because this chain kind of becomes a collar, almost, around the dragon's neck. I also like how the wings are still fully posable, so they can fully flap and go in and out as if you want some flying poses. The legs in the back are a little annoying because there's no way for them to peg together, sadly, so they kind of just separate. But sometimes I like to pose them with two tails as kind of a unique look. I think it kind of adds this extra effect that, oops, his leg fell off. An extra look that some dragons, if not most dragons, just don't have. Anyways, reposing him because he kind of fell over a bit. I also love posing him with a minifigure that's scared, kind of just running away, because dragons are not always the best thing to see on your everyday walk to school, for instance. Anyway, this dragon has a really cool head sculpt, I think. I like how the head becomes the chest in robot mode. Problem is there is some robot kibble, because you can still see the robot's head right here. There's no way to really cover that up other than to just pretend it's not there. The dragon's head, I gave him like these tusks right here because I like to imagine it being a very like cybernetic and robotic dragon. It's not meant to look natural in any way. I imagine it with lots of steampunk looking parts, pipes, gears, etc. For some comparisons, here he is next to Wheelspin. They have similar color palettes, so I just thought I'd compare them first. You'll see he's a pretty big dragon. Picking this up and refocusing the camera, he is pretty big. He does grow to be a lot bigger than all my other Transformers. Here he is next to the biggest one I've shown you, which is easily Barrel Roll. You'll see the dragon and him are both pretty similar in size and probably in part count. Moving him out of the way, I'm going to do one last comparison with Henry. You'll see next to Henry, he is huge. And I love that. I love that aesthetic. When I pose them, I often pose this guy in dragon mode, but the rest of them in robot mode, just to give him his own unique look that the rest of them could never have. For this, gladly it's not just kibble. It actually does have a place it can go. You'll see this piece on the bottom. Actually, what I do is I take it and I slide it up. And this is kind of just a forced thing, and I'm aware it's forced, but I can't really do anything else with it. And I can easily just peg it on his back if it will cooperate. Come on, peg in there. Okay, it's not going to cooperate. It's hard to hold a camera in one hand and peg something in the other. But anyway, it does peg in like that. And also it's cool because this chain kind of turns into a leash and or like a collar, once again, like an extension to that collar. So it's all up for like interpretation on what you want to do with this. But it can peg anywhere. Sometimes I pose it like this. It's not really connected, but I like the look of it. Anyways, this video is already a lot longer than the rest of my videos. If you like this video, go ahead and tune in for my last video. I have one more member of this old-fashioned team that I'm going to be showing you guys. And in my opinion, he's probably my favorite. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.